Rod, I want to draw a little Venn diagram, 3 circles here, and I want you to guess some of the essence of Wholesome Show topics. Like, what words would you say in each of these circles to represent the pure essence of Wholesome Show?
Can they be concepts?
Topics. So, what sort of topic things?
Matters in the trousers?
Matters in the trousers. Okay, good. Trouser. Good. Okay, give me another circle of Wholesome Show topics.
Terrible people doing allegedly good things?
Oh, this is definitely in
Or
here.
bad things?
Yeah, okay. Terrible people. Awesome. One more.
Swans?
Yes, that's it. That's the big one. That's the big one. Science.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that should be in here. Like, I'll put science and hilarious in the big one.
What have we got? We've got toilets, we've got terrible people, and we've got stories.
Something that I often pick because it allows me to do some my only accent.
Oh, American Indians.
That's not my only accent. Here, I'll run.
Russia.
It's the USSR.
Mother Russia.
So I just got to say, I think I may have found the essence of Wholesome Show topics. The thing, dear listener, that sits right in the goddamn center of the Wholesome Show environment. This is it.
I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it.
Finally.
I'm already too excited.
I have found the topic that rules them all. In 1973...
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Don't build it up too much.
Okay.
In 1973, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was taking a bath. And at some point, he noticed a swelling underneath his left rib cage. So
His left rib cage.
yeah, that's there. You
The
noticed
lower thorax.
I don't know.
Mid-left body.
Yeah, in there, in the
Mid-left
body
body.
area. So he visited his private physician, who discovered that his spleen was enlarged. Since
Classic snowboarder injury.
is it?
They're falling over on T-bars.
Oh, really?
Smack you in the spleen. Anyway.
The swelling had occurred a few times over the past couple of years, and so they wondered if it might be a reoccurrence of the malaria that he had a few years ago.
Excellent.
I don't know if spleen swelling and malaria is a thing, but obviously it must be enough that you go and get it checked out.
If you don't have a spleen, you can't get malaria, so it must be true.
So they consulted a hematologist, blood doctor person. The initial blood tests suggested some sort of low-grade infection, but they said, let's do another test. Let's get a bone marrow sample.
Ooh.
And something worse came out. It was chronic leukemia. In fact, it was a rare but mild form of lymphatic cancer. Now, it's possible at this stage that Pahlavi wasn't fully aware that he had cancer because I think the doctors, when they first told him, referred to it by its formal name, which wasn't cancer. It was Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia.
No, it wasn't.
That's what they said. Look, sir, you've got Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia.
I've got unpronounceable syndrome.
I think poor Mr. Pahlavi probably was like, okay, I've got the Waldenstrom's thing. So it's legitimate that maybe he didn't know that he had cancer.
Would they not have said AKA? What year are we talking? 70s.
73.
Yeah, that's idiotic.
So just to flag here, there may have been that he didn't know. He might have been in denial, or he might not have wanted to worry anyone. So there's a couple of explanations for what's going on.
Don't worry, folks. I've got Waldenstrom infinitum.
Yeah, but
Okay.
the critical thing is that throughout 1973, 74, 75, 76, I think for about 3 years, he managed to keep the cancer secret from his wife, his closest friends, and everyone that he worked with throughout that whole time. Now, to make
It's not uncommon.
it's totally not
Black
uncommon.
Panther did that.
He did too.
Kinda?
He did too. And I'm not here to judge. Not judging his choices, but it's a legitimate thing to do in nearly every circumstance.
Is it? Nearly every.
This might be one of those circumstances where, yeah. Okay, so to make matters worse, he didn't comply with the treatment regime that they said. So
Why would you?
got to have your chemotherapy, which might have indicated to him it was cancerish. So he didn't do that.
It's that or acne. I mean, it's one or the other.
For nearly a year. And his health, as you can guess, gradually declined. So he's getting weight loss, he's getting nausea, he's getting jaundice, incessant coughing, and eventually it became undeniable. Everyone was like, dude, you are not well.
This is more than Waldenschnoftenman.
So eventually, after about 6 years, he became unable to function in his job, and he was forced to quit in haste. In 1979, 6 years after his initial diagnosis, he died. Now,
Short story.
Now, there's consequences. I don't know what your memory is for the names of people who died in 1979 is.
I know names of people who were born,
Yes?
died. Elvis Presley didn't.
No, 77 or something for Presley.
As I said, didn't. Nostradamus didn't die then either. So I can narrow it down.
But for some people, the name Mohammad Reza Pahlavi might jog a memory.
Oh, yeah, because his name is what palaver came from, as in
It's a palaver.
discord. And
What a
some
whole
terrible-
palaver.
Yeah.
That's possible. I kind of doubt it.
No.
Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was the last Shah, king of Iran.
Oh.
So here's the thing.
Ah.
The Shah's secret illness and the decision to allow him to enter the United States in 1979, ostensibly for medical treatment. He probably did get some medical treatment. But then everything fell apart in Iran.
It really did.
For the US, it precipitated what was one of the gravest foreign policy crises in American history. So there was the Iranian Revolution, while the Shah is not there, and also the seizure of the US embassy in Iran with all of those hostages in there. Huge failure in US foreign policy and in US strategic choices. And it continues to reverberate to today. However many years between 1979 and now, I think maybe
28.
28.
28,
28. It still has a huge effect on the US relationship with the Islamic world, with the Middle East, with Iran itself.
So it's still excellent.
So the failure to consider the effect of illness on a leader's political behavior, as illustrated by the Shah's fall and the Iranian Revolution, can have a disastrous effect on US policy towards strategically important relationships. As the CIA said not long after, had we known that the Shah was suffering from cancer of the lymph nodes since 1973, they didn't say Waldenstrom's thing.
No, because no one does.
No,
It just doesn't
not
get
even
said.
Waldenstrom.
No.
It's
Even
like
he's embarrassed.
I feel like
Why wasn't
someone
my name cancer?
should have said to Waldenstrom, "Stop trying to make it a thing.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen."
Change your name to cancer, mate. Then you can be named after it.
I don't think you want to change your name to cancer.
Not really, no.
Had we known, our government's judgments as to his ability to deal with the revolutionary forces would probably been quite different. Serious doubts would likely have been replaced with the guarded optimism concerning the Shah's ability to weather the storm.
Yeah.
Some would have more forcefully advocated for an earlier accommodation with the Shah's opponents. And so that's the logic.
Yeah.
That's the logic
Logic.
that underpins what I want to look at today. But what I want to do is the lengths that the CIA would go to get this information.
I'm very happy right now.
Welcome to The Wholesome Show, the Science Stories podcast for people who sit up the back of the thing that they're in.
And for people who are in the CIA and don't want to ask dumb questions, we'll do it for them.
Yeah, helping you out.
We
helping
always
you out.
help the CIA.
If
That's
you're an
what we do.
agent and you're like, what the hell is this MPAC thing, what I'm about to tell you about?
How do you know we're not both agents?
Exactly. You can't possibly know.
I'm an awake sleeper.
Well, no.
You didn't know that?
No, I don't know what that means. The Wholesome Show is me, sleeper agent Will Grant,
And me, Dr. Roderick Griffin Waston from Schoolcraft Syndrome Lamberts.
and it is brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness
Of the CIA.
of the Science.
CIA. Of
which
the
is,
CIA.
which as I said before, when we go back to our Venn diagram of Wholesome Show issues, obviously upside down,
Is relevant.
science and hilarious is the outside one. But I think terrible people, trousers. The thing you didn't say, and I forgot to circle, is racism. There is.
When have we ever been racist?
No, we're not. I'm going to document some racism here, and I got to tell you, as another secret, this is one of the bits of racism. I was like, you what?
It's one of the bits you liked.
No, I didn't like it. I was shocked. I was shocked, dear
Stay
listener.
tuned where William
Shocked.
secretly agrees to a piece of racism.
No, I didn't agree with it. I was just shocked.
No,
that,
not yet.
I was just shocked that someone would do this.
Minute 39, Will says, okay, some racism's all right.
Since at least 1965,
965.
the US government has recognized the importance of monitoring
Monsterizing.
the physical and mental fitness of world leaders.
It took them that long.
I think they were doing it before. They were definitely doing it before, but I think this is when they made it an
Oh,
institutional
it's
thing.
official. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the CIA has incorporated, it's got a leadership analysis program where they want to look at the psychological and medical assessments of select foreign individuals. So the first bit of this story,
I got to say,
Yeah.
God, I'd love to do shit like that.
Oh,
I really would.
Look,
It'd
it's
be dreadful.
it's so cool. Like there's some bits of this that are just like, oh, that is sweet job.
Your
Sweet
job is to analyze the crap out of this person who's in the public eye and does stuff and be like, can I?
Yeah.
But you're with the CIA, so you can't drink, smoke, be publicly accountable, or say words out loud that people might not like. And
Yeah.
blah,
So
blah.
no podcasts.
We can
if you're in the
fire
CIA.
or execute you at our whim.
There's no podcasts. So just to flag my sources here, the first bit of this story comes from an article by Jonathan D. Clement in the International Journal of Intelligence and Counterintelligence.
Oh, we got to do both. It's the different colours. Each issue, it flips it. So intelligence is in black on one side, and you flip it over, and in red, you got
It's
counterintelligence.
back, yeah. Maybe. I've always, did they merge the journals in like 1950 or so? And I also wonder, how international is it? Like, is it really like the KGB spies and the CIA spies were trying to get their papers?
You want
into
to
the-
collaborate on journal paper?
Have many good journals.
You
to
want
do that.
counter or just int? So you do one, I do other. Yeah, internet, but it's just like they have the World Series of Baseball, which includes all of the world
America.
unless you're not America.
Yeah, well, anyway. So I'm flagging this because his story is pretty solid. It's based on a bunch of documents that have been declassified by the CIA. So the CIA actually allowed some of its people in this program to publish peer-reviewed papers.
And this program, you mean the Wholesome Show?
No, not this program. The program I'm about to tell you about allowed them to publish some papers in open peer review. And it's also...
Which means they're either lies or they don't matter anymore.
No, it matters. It matters a lot. Peer review matters.
Does it?
And it's also, there's a lecture by the former director of the program, Dr. Leslie Painson. So I think this side of the story, totally legit.
Okay.
The other half of the story, we'll see.
More counter.
We'll see.
More counter than intelligence.
Okay. So the program initially started within the agency's Office of Medical Services. Now, just to flag
I
here,
want to work for that one too.
no, they're bad.
I don't want to work for that one.
They have you look them up, the CIA Office of Medical Services, and it's a struggle which is their worst period. So in the 60s and 70s, they were involved in all of the mind control sorts of programs.
MK Ultra shit.
MK Ultra,
Love it.
which I am shocked, dear listener, that neither of us have ever done as an episode.
I'm going to guess that. Well, I know I have a huge file that I almost always nearly do, and I bet you do too.
It's there. I know. But they were also involved in torture during the War on Terror, and I don't doubt that they may have done some other shady things as well.
Coercion.
So anyway, they were shuffled out of there. So the medical services did some other things. And this group moved to this sort of idea moved to the Scientific Intelligence and Life Sciences Division of the CIA. So
That couldn't be evil though, so that's fine.
The science department, where they were called first the VIP Medical Analysis Center, and then eventually they became called the Medical and Psychological Analysis Center.
I want to work there.
So
I just
MPAC,
want to do that.
MPAC, Medical and Psychological Analysis Center. I'm going to call them MPAC. I don't know if they call themselves MPAC.
Parch.
So their goal was preparing assessments on key foreign individuals. So not just the leaders, but you want to know the cabinet or who might be the next leader, all of those kinds of people.
Podcasters who are subversive.
Yes,
and stuff like that.
key podcasters.
I get it.
Also terrorists, narco traffickers, like the enemy. They want to know all of these sorts of things. Now, as you said, you want to work there. It's a multidisciplinary team. They've got a whole bunch of doctors, physicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, sociologists,
Science communicators.
anthropologists, and epidemiologists.
Epidemiologists?
Yes, there might be some science. Actually, they believe in science communication because.
Do they?
Well, no. The boss of the Leslie Painson said at one time, we really need people that can communicate their work in clear language because a lot of these doctors, they might say Waldenstrom's globular
Is a shit name.
exactly, and the other people in the agency would be like, I don't care. Tell me what's he going to be like? Is that going to affect him?
Yeah.
So
Call
they
it what you want.
they had a bit of anyway.
Yep.
So just to the type of person they were. So Leslie Painson was the director, but she had 15 years of direct patient care experience as a CIA regional medical officer in Europe, Asia, and Australia before being invited into MPAC. I don't know what. I don't know what an intensive patient care experience and CIA operative at the same time is.
There's a lot of Venn diagrams in this episode.
Legitimate doctor spy.
What? Yeah, I know.
I don't know what that. So she Actually, I did try to look up if Leslie is male or female. I couldn't find a picture because CIA person. Not that a picture is the only way to judge. I know, but I couldn't find either
No,
a,
you got to
a
look at the
pronoun either.
trousers. Is this where the trousers part comes
No,
in?
you're not allowed to look there either. But I couldn't find a pronoun either. So Leslie being both a legitimate female and male name, I don't know.
So Leslie, they,
Leslie, the doctor spy. Yes, I'll go with that.
Dr. Leslie.
But yeah, so all the people on there are doctors and spies, and typically what they want is people that have had first-hand experience of being a spy, clandestine operations in there, gathering, and also being a doctor. Which
Well, the doctor's a bit like a spy.
within this, Painston said that MPAC seeks out physicians with superior diagnostic acumen.
Oh.
What they meant is that expert thinkers who can jump from A, B, C to Q without those intervening steps.
Oh, I can do that.
Physicians
I can totally do
who
that.
are willing to take analytical risks. So
Make shit up, do whatever they want. Go from the gut, man.
the-
Fire from the gut.
look, there has to be a little bit of firing from the gut here because as
really does.
as we'll introduce, the evidence that they've got in a second is a little bit more limited than your regular doctor.
And there are a lot of letters between D and Q.
but
But who needs them?
I love explicitly hiring people that can do that jump.
What if I give you these 3 symptoms? What do you think they were like in high school? And you just tell them. Boom. That's a job interview.
That would be relevant. That would be relevant.
Yeah.
Well, look,
They got the sniffles. They have strange kind of receding hairline and 3 feet. That means they're a wanker in high school. That's it. Boom. I can do this job.
I don't know if wanker in high school would be as useful to them. Like that, what they want to know
That's because
is
you're not in the program.
they want to know: is the leader going to make irrational decisions, or is the
Wanker now.
leader going to die? Those kind of things.
I could do that too.
What they want to do is not report the news, but report the future. Their goal is to be only hours behind the actual treating physician. So if some
Wow.
world leader has had a stroke or has got some weird poisoning condition, Viktor Yushchenko or something like that, they want to know as quickly as they can what's going down. Because if someone dies all of a sudden, and leaders do die all of a sudden, they want to know
Not the ones you want though, but yes.
those die all.
Wrong podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, not that one. Yeah, not that one. But they want to know as quickly as they can. Now, and just as I said before, this was an example of their science communication. Instead of the long titles...
Can I say, I really want this job. I really want this job.
You know, maybe there's an open source version of it. Can I diagnose from afar? Like,
What did you do at work today? Oh, I predicted whether the dude who cut his finger was going to get cancer or leprosy and the political implications in the tiny little country that we're talking about. Are you right? I don't know. That's not my job. My job's not to be right. My job's to have a crack. I'm here to go from A to Q.
they didn't. They actually did test if they were right on a whole bunch of things.
Well,
but
that's what passage of time does.
it does.
It's
It
pretty
does,
good at
and you
that.
can
Yeah.
check these things. But like all intelligence, it's not about being right. It's about knowing your options and knowing the strategic environment. You know, is this person likely to die? How long are they likely to survive? You know, put some probability bounds on this. But there's a nice like some of the titles of the reports that they would produce. Like they tried to make them, instead of really hard and clinical, but it would be something like President so-and-so, rigid, suspicious, difficult to deal with. Or they just say, likely to live out the year, unlikely to live out the year. Those kinds of
That's a
things.
report title or a bullet point within the report.
I don't know. That might be the whole report.
I want this job even more now. Write me a report. He's not looking great. Probably okay. By the end of the year, we should reassess.
They're
Click.
busy spies.
Job done.
They're busy spies. They can't read all of this
I
stuff.
can be a busy spy.
Okay, so as you may have guessed, the key problem they have, they're not like normal doctors.
No.
Normal doctors, what can they do? They can sit you down in your room and chat to you. They can rub your body in the ways that doctors rub their bodies scientifically.
Now, you know they're not supposed to do that.
Well, I mean, I'm saying scientifically.
Do you want to talk about your doctor for a while?
My doctor.
I have a sore throat. Can I rub your body?
I'm on the cusp of Gen X and millennial. On this, I'm very millennial. I don't have a consistent doctor. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, as a gentleman in his 40s, why would you worry about that?
I know. No, I'm an Australian gentleman in the 40s that I ignore.
You call me un-Australian?
They don't have data. They don't have data.
Well, they don't get to actually, look at the patient.
They don't get to look at the patient. They don't get hands on. They don't get most of the stuff. But
But other than that, though, no problem.
but they do work on this sort of saying that is really common in med school. And supposedly it's a pretty accurate saying.
Yeah.
The 90% of all diagnoses are suggested by history.
Okay.
9%
So
by
like when Napoleon invaded Finland and stuff like that?
not that kind of history.
Oh, different history.
Like your history or your
My history.
family's
So
history.
when I invaded Finland,
Yes.
that would make more sense.
No, like have you had a heart attack in the past? Might be a heart attack that
No.
you're having now. Or did your father or your father's father?
Interesting history though. Have you had a heart attack before? No. Well, then it can't be one now. You've got to be better than that, right?
You're being willfully obtuse. But history makes a big is a big part of making diagnoses.
absolutely.
And history is not impossible to get if you are watching from afar.
If you are a CIA.
Depending on who the person is, but you can get pretty good history on on people.
Yeah.
So 90% on history, 9% by physical exam, and only 1% by lab tests.
Luck.
Now I don't know if that's maybe the fact that probably most diagnoses are fairly simple, and it's only really the complicated ones that you need to get to lab tests. But I don't know if that's changed, but supposedly it bears up.
You need. Oh no, sorry, that's a diagnosis if you're not a spy, just a generic.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's the normal med students.
Yep.
Spies typically can't get
Almost all of that.
Almost all of that. They can get history. They can't get physical exam. And can't often get physical exam.
Hello, I am your doctor, not spy at all. I'm going to physically examine you. You're sick. I report. Tell me history.
Okay, so they've developed a system of using all the evidence they can. Obviously, they're spies, collecting as much as they can.
That's just called. That's not really developing a system. Use all the evidence you can. Is just called finding shit out. I mean, that's just analysis.
Yes.
Are they claiming they developed it?
No, they're not.
Because
I'm claiming it on their behalf.
that's different.
Now, slow down. If I'm going to use some spy terminology here,
Okay,
so let me know if you need me to translate it into civvy speak.
Here's the thing: if I do recognise it, I could be a spy, so I have to pretend I don't know.
That's good.
So if I don't know, that's not because I'm stupid.
So the big part is HUMINT.
I have no idea what that means.
HUMINT, human intelligence. Yeah. Then there's photographic and video analysis. Again, that means photographic and video analysis.
Obscure. No one's gonna know.
SIGINT, signals intelligence, and open source intelligence. That means open source intelligence.
Open source?
Open source. Yeah, that would be useful. Open source. I'll explain that in a bit, but that means shit you can get on the internet, like you can Google about them as well. But most of this story
How is
pretty-
Putin? Not well. Okay, I have intelligence. I have human open source. Okay.
Okay, so let's go with HUMINT first. So this is using human sources, and look, a lot of this is going to be pretty reliable, or at least it's going to be pretty close to the person, and then we can get something there.
Yeah.
So, what are some examples of what they would do? In a private meeting in Moscow in 1959, the U.S. ambassador at large, Avril Harriman, was able to provocatively test Soviet Premier Khrushchev's walking. The theory was that Khrushchev had a stroke, and so he might be limping because of the stroke, and that would show if they had. Now,
I'm going to guess how he did it. He went on a boat trip with him.
I don't know what he did. Let's go for a walk. Provocatively test.
Let's go for a little pontoon
Mr.
ride.
Mr. Premier, could you walk along here for a little bit?
Can you walk on this boat? I just want you to walk on a boat.
I don't know what, but he provocatively tested it and helped dispel the rumors. So I don't know what that.
Double agent.
Yep.
I'm suspicious.
Okay, so they might do things like that. Another example in this one you don't have to be a rocket scientist for. The Vienna Summit of 1979, the director of Central Intelligence, so the boss, remarked how feeble Brezhnev appeared because he was unable to ambulate on his own and required two huge KGB guards to get around. So he's
being carried
by two KGB
It's
guards.
Weekend at Bernie's.
I think he looks sick. He's being literally, and I think Brezhnev at that point literally was Weekend at Bernie's. He was that close to
I'm
death.
pretty
door.
confident there were shoelaces tied around their ankles and his.
And look again. Robert M. Gates was not a physician and was not part of the impact, but
You don't have to be a doctor to tell if someone's walking on their own. I think we're all pretty qualified. If you got eyes, you're probably pretty good at this.
yeah, being carried by two big guys.
Were his legs moving without anyone touching them? No, not walking.
Okay, they probably had a whole bunch more of those things, but they're the two easy examples I could find.
Easy's good.
Okay, next type of human intelligence, and this one's actually probably more revealing, is if the leader was getting visits by doctors, and particularly if they're getting visits by doctors of particular specialties. Like if you're getting an oncologist, then it might be something to do with your oncology.
Bladder.
Yeah. If it's a podiatrist, it's
Children.
indeed. It's
My children aren't well. I need to see a podiatrist. That's how it works.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a warning here that they would say you can't necessarily trust that because in some countries there's different cultural issues. You might consult a blood specialist for reasons you wouldn't consult a blood specialist in America.
Tinea.
You might. You might. There is definitely cultural predilections, or maybe that doctor in particular is like the favourite doctor of the regime, or something like that. So you can't trust it 100%.
No, you can't. 98.
But actually, this is one of the earliest indications that the Shah of Iran that I mentioned before, Pahlavi, had the that one,
syndromes.
or the form of leukemia, so a blood cancer. There was two of France's most prominent hematologists travelled secretly to Tehran to examine the Shah. So there's an indicator there that they could have noticed these sorts of things. I think they missed that, but they looked back later and said, "Oh, we could have seen that one."
You'd think so.
There was another example where the first secretary of the Romanian Communist Party in the 60s.
Oh, wait, I know the name.
Yeah, do you?
Khimolov Dontrisnev.
No, it's Gorge Gorgigu Dej. Gorgigu. Yeah, he was suffering from precancerous bladder polyps, and a world famous urologist was summoned by the Romanian government.
A wee doctor.
Yeah, a wee doctor, and the American intelligence analysts recognised this as something worth paying attention to.
Well, they're good, aren't they?
And so he died not long after, but the US knew 8 months before that he was going to die, which
changed the course of history.
I don't think it did. It was Romania, so not the most important thing in the world.
Come on, Nadia Comaneci, the first perfect 10 in Olympic gymnastics. That changed the course of history.
It did. All right, so
that's my other podcast, Romanian gymnastics. It's a very different one.
I'm so surprised. So there is a whole bunch of human intelligence. Next, photographic and video imagery, which would be the one I'd like to do. I want to be in the photographic and video department. The thing that's interesting here is, and I actually want to look into this a whole bunch more, but there are hundreds of physical signs on your body that can tell you things about different conditions you're suffering. Now, you can guess some of these straight away.
I'm already freaked out. I don't want to look anymore.
I could diagnose you. Actually. So some of them we've all, so after a stroke, there's...
Now.
Well,
he looked at me, paused briefly,
all right,
meaningfully, and then went, You have brain cancer.
Okay, can I see your earlobes, please?
You can see one of them.
Oh, I can't see. Oh, maybe it's possible.
Glamorous, right? Glamorous.
It's got an earring there. I don't want to alarm you.
What does an earring mean? What kind of disease do I have?
It's not an earring. It's earlobe creases. As you can see, George Bush has here. Like a deep crease in your earlobe is an indicator of a potential heart condition.
I don't have those.
There you go. So you're fine.
I don't have deep creases.
So you can look for little creases in your earlobe.
Show me your ear. Oh, fuck, nothing.
Smooth. Nothing. Yeah.
His is so smooth, he doesn't have a heart.
I checked that one. But I am worried about the next one.
Oh, yeah?
Thinning eyebrows on the outside. Like if the outside of your eyebrows start to thin, which I think we both might have a little bit of that.
I've literally just been to the barber, though.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be a sign of hyperthyroidism, which could indicate mental health problems.
There are other things that indicate that. Pretty much most of what we do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, I'm not worried about that. And also thyroid, another good one is just a tiny goiter.
Yeah, the goiter.
Just a small goiter.
The goiter is easy to spot.
It's a little football.
All I'm saying is that there are signs on people's bodies. Another one that I liked was hairless shins. So if you have a not very hairy shin, mine's all right at the moment.
When? At what point in your life?
And also, how often are you seeing world leaders in shorts? Like it's just not common.
No, a couple of times a year. At our retreats.
I think Putin you might see in a pair of shorts, but other than that...
No, he'll wear long pants, but he won't have a shirt on. But the hairlessness also on the legs, right, that also happens with age.
I think as they're saying...
Because of trousers.
I think as they're saying here, these are not immutable signs. These are just things you can look for. And a trained physician doctor spy...
Sure.
A trained physician doctor spy will know how to balance all of these things.
Do they have a vaguely nervous disposition when in the dining car of a certain train? That could mean fucking nothing.
it's not one sign. They're looking for all of these things. Look.
Oh, it's the constellation
I'm
of
just
symptoms
giving
that
you
matters.
a couple of examples of things they're looking for. So, they're all.
I don't mean to shit on my future employers. That's not fair.
There you go.
I apologize.
They're also looking for frowns, smiles, facial expressions which may reveal some sort of facial asymmetry.
Let me guess. If you frown a lot, you may be depressed.
No, they're thinking here about a stroke, which is actually, I'll come to it in a little bit, but a stroke is one of the conditions they're most looking for.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
In terms of world leader analysis and stuff, damn
Absolutely.
right they would.
Right in the target population.
Yeah,
but there's
yeah.
actually some other things there. There's a couple of other things that are too hard to see. Clubbing of the fingernails is a sign of
Clubbing.
yeah, like your fingernails go a little bit funny at the ends. No, at the beginnings. I guess it's the beginnings. They look for that as well. Can't often get that. So television footage can provide a wealth of information for this.
Yeah.
They'll also be looking at how they stand, how they walk, what they're wearing. I guess that's pretty obvious if they're wearing some sort of bandage or something like that.
that doesn't go with that outfit. The guy's clearly got cancer.
So they also loved when leaders would publish photos of there'd be like photos of the leaders swimming or sunbathing. So there's like Saddam Hussein.
To be fair, who doesn't love that?
I know, or Chairman Mao, and these spies would sit
God,
down and go,
nude Mao.
"Holy shit, we've got it!" They would be
What a
pouring
wealth
over
of
this
air
footage.
quotes information we have now. Hank, you finished with that photo yet? I mean, come on.
But they'd be
Special
pouring
people.
over looking for any surgical scars or any things that might be showing as a disease in any sort of way.
Rogue hair, etc.
So I mean, one of the more recent ones that they poured over was December 2001, not long after the September 11 attacks.
I've heard of those.
There'd be footage of Osama bin Laden, and they were saying he seems to be preferentially using his right arm.
Is he right-handed?
I think he was left-handed. But the problem was they're like, it could have been he had a stroke, or could have been injured by shrapnel during the recent battle, or could have torn a rotator cuff from slugging around a heavy rifle, or any number of other things. So we don't have a real...
One thing they knew for sure was it meant he would eventually be overthrown, found in a dark hole, and hanged.
I like...
Wasn't eating Doritos, but he used to moisten them.
I like this. Did he moisten them?
Yeah, allegedly he was into not only the corn chip, but he would like to dampen them or put.
Is this like Doritos as breakfast cereal with milk?
No, just like he preferred them damp.
Bit-
Who wants to dampen a corn chip?
What a monster! He's more of a monster than I thought.
And my
before.
source, I believe, is Tosh.0. So if you want credible, boom.
There you go.
Yeah.
There was. In 1989, Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping, he was scored as 9 out of 10 on the healthiness scale by photos. But just 5 years later, when he was slumped over in a wheelchair, he was given a 2 out of 10. So
That's some analysis for you.
I think they got the work experience kit in for that bit of analysis.
Hang on a minute. I don't think he's doing very well. What is it?
Wheelchair, tick. Slumped, tick.
Photograph of tick.
But you can understand why. Okay, that's not a good look for a leader. Slumped over in a wheelchair. You're not doing a lot of leading anymore.
But in his defense, it's a snapshot, right? It's not a video. So he may have been visiting a hospital or a manufacturing facility that makes wheelchairs, and they said, "Do you want to try one out?" He says, "Yes." And then he noticed bird shit on his shirt.
I know.
And he leant forward.
I know that Deng Xiaoping lived in a media environment that is very different
Yes.
to the Australian or the American media environment. But I think any politician, Chinese Communist Party, Liberal Party of Australia, Australian Labor Party, whoever, who goes to a wheelchair factory with people able to take photographs and says, "I might just try one out," not a great politician. I just think it might not look good. That's all.
God, you're good at this.
Don't stand in front of the sign that says "Massive Drongo."
Grunt.
Don't allow your body to.
Don't allow your giant head to block the R. That's bad PR. Or bad no R.
Okay. What else we got? Signals intelligence. So that that's where you're intercepting the radio, traffic and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You got your submarine parked out there, and you beep 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 beep, and it's like, oh, Chairman Mao is sick. Beep beep beep. No, he's okay.
That was quick.
Yeah, it was
A sniffle,
short
really.
illness.
Just a sniffle.
There was in the 1970s, the National Security Agency had this program named Gamma Guppy, where they would monitor the telephone conversations of Soviet Politburo members as they drove around Moscow in their limousines, which I love that.
Hello.
Are you in your car?
Yes.
Beautiful car.
I am communicating with you on my way to hookers and BJs.
Look, they probably, yeah. But I
We're
like,
allowed to talk about that. This is free to air.
oh, and they're Soviet Politburo members. So whilst it was in the 70s, they weren't as bad as they were before, but they probably weren't.
Balls. They were as bad and they continue to be.
No, they were worse. They were worse.
Sure?
I'll introduce you to someone who was worse.
Hello, I'm Sergey. I am worse.
Here's worse.
Okay.
No, Lavrenti. We'll come to him in a
I'm
second.
looking forward to that.
Okay. Sigyn exactly a huge part of this now because previously, you'd move your x-rays around by hand and now you use them via...
you gesture hypnotically towards your smartphone and everything happens.
or the internet. And
It's the same thing.
and so intercepting medical images
Siri,
is-
intercept famous leaders' political discourse, please. And Siri does.
I don't know if... I'll try it.
Have you not tried?
I will soon.
Yeah, try it now. Dear Siri, would you mind telling me what the Soviet Politburo...
Doesn't work if you say dear. You can't be too
do
polite. You can't be too polite.
I've reprogrammed mine. Not that I knew how to do that. I'm no spy.
All right, a couple of other simple things that they do. Open source. So this is just looking at, family, like the newspapers and things that are published in the open. But yeah, it doesn't actually tell you that much about what's going on. Handwriting could be a really useful thing. If they ever capture a page that has been written by the leader, you can have a look and see how messy it is or what's going on.
Or indeed, like Donald Trump's, how much it looks like the landscape. Like, what is it, Montserrat? A jagged landscape on the edge of the universe. His handwriting was...
Who was that?
Trumpy.
Oh, yeah. Always with Sharpies. So, look,
no dexterity.
I don't doubt that there were many equivalent spy agencies to the CIA in other countries doing that analysis on Donald Trump all the time.
Not a lot to look at, though. You look at his writing and go, fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucked up.
Our diagnosis is insane narcissist.
Yeah. On a mountain-sized scale, like a mountain range scale, because he wrote his signature like a mountain range.
Yes, he
With
did.
a Sharpie, very, very tall, on large bits of paper.
His signature's not that far apart from mine, though.
I've seen your... Well, I've used
we have different names, but I
you go.
I feel like there's some commonality.
Really? Is
Yeah.
it rigid and angular.
Yeah,
Show me, go on. Show me your signature. This is great radio.
It's not.
That's a bunch of shitty scribbles in green text, so that is not a signature.
That's the pen I've got in my
but
head.
this is smooth and rounded. His is angular. Like, his had corners.
I'll try harder to get some corners.
No, but his has corners.
I'm just, all right. But that's a useful bit of analysis as well. Okay. Now, the final piece of analysis is, well, the term that they used is medical massint, which is measurement and signals intelligence. And it's not a traditional source, but I'm going to pivot sources here.
Yeah.
So where previously I've gone from the Journal of Spying and Counter-Spying,
Intelligence and counterintelligence.
I'm going to go with a different source. His name is Igor Atamanenko. Atamanenko. He's formerly of the KGB. And supposedly some of the other things he said before are potentially outlandish, potentially not outlandish. So everything from here, you got to take with that a little bit of grain of salt.
No, history will tell whether it was outlandish.
But before we do that, a little word from our sponsors. You might know, listener, that Rod and I and our dear colleague
At Pottery Camp.
at Pottery Camp, CJ Josh, also do another podcast. If you ever want to listen to anything on Australian politics, where can they listen?
G-Day sausages.
G-Day Sausages.
It's very good.
I don't know if I can fill out this much more sponsor announcements. Go and listen to it.
Listen to G'day Sausages if you care about Australian politics, and also if you don't.
There you go. All right. I said before, Rod, that there were worse people in the Soviet Politburo before the 1970s.
Well, I've heard rumours.
Yeah, look, there were.
Detail.
Everyone was pretty tame after in the 1970s. They were in the main good people compared to the people in the 1950s. Now, Lavrenti Beria,
A monster.
a monster. I think of all of the monsters of the Soviet Union, he's pretty close to the top. So he was Stalin's long-serving chief of the NKVD, which is the predecessor to the KGB.
For a moment you hear served with Stalin in his worst arm of horrible...
Yeah, during the worst time. Like from basically,
Fuck me.
I think he was there all throughout World War II and throughout the purges in the 30s until after World War II.
So he was the guy that monsters were afraid of.
100%. Like he was like, as an aside, He was a terrible, horrible sexual predator. Like he was a monster. He used his power to monster women all over Russia. Now the fascinating thing that I'm gobsmacked at, that he kept a handwritten list of his victims.
Oh God!
But that list is not going to be released by Russia until 2028. And I'm like,
how long has he been dead?
I assume he's been, that might be that might be when he's dead 70 years. So that might be. So I'm assuming he died probably 58. He died not long after Stalin, because as Death of Stalin will show, I don't know how accurate Death of Stalin is, but the death scene of Beria, where they kill him, burn his body, and put his body into the ashes into a leaf blower to get rid of them as quickly as he possibly can, whilst having a fairly casual conversation. It was
it's romantic.
Look, Death of Stalin's a great. But anyway, Beria is a monster. But this is not about him being a monster. This is not about him being a monster. Instead, I want to turn to something that Stalin asked him to do in the 1940s, which is actually, interestingly, the progenitor of the CIA program.
Wonderful.
So, as Igor says, Igor the source here, Igor Atamanenko. In those days, the Soviets didn't have the kind of listening devices which secret services do today. That's why our specialists came up with the most extravagant ways of extracting information about a person. In the 1940s, a secret laboratory was created in the Soviet Union under the NKVD, in which scientists were engaged in determining the character of a person by their poo. The theory was...
Fuck yes, you've made me so happy.
The theory was that a lack of potassium in the body could be shown up in the poo.
Well, not just by sight.
No, you can't see that by sight. You need to know
texture,
and that would make people irritable. So if you knew people were irritable, that would be a good thing. Or because they'd be unpredictable. Or alternately, you could have a lot of cholesterol in your stool, and high cholesterol that leads to a problem. Low cholesterol that leads to the psychiatric ward as well. So there's a lot of things you can start looking for. There's also an amino acid tryptophan.
Tryptophan's awesome.
Yeah, that means you're calm. So if you've got a lot of tryptophan in your poo, that means you're calm and approachable. So Stalin said...
Is that sure? Because you may have just pooed it all out.
No, it means you've got a lot to poo out.
You got like so much.
Like your body is like, you can put some of there as well. I don't mind. Do it anyway.
My question about this technique is a simple one. Is it not predicated on gaining access to samples?
Oh yes, it is. It is, and therein lies the
wonder.
All right.
The wonder.
So Stalin said, "Okay, run with this, buddy. This is going to be cool. We're gonna find out some stuff.
Collect shit all over the world.
I want all of it. Give me one from everybody.
Let's invent Tupperware to make sure it stays fresh."
In 1949, so this is fresh after the Chinese Civil War had ended. Chairman Mao Zedong, he has just won the Civil War, and he's going to Russia to say, "Okay, we're the two communist buddies.
Yep.
Let's set up an alliance. Let's party
together." Yep.
Now, of course, Stalin is going to be like, "Yeah, I'm glad that there is more communists, but we aren't equals.
I'm the boss communist.
I'm the boss communist. You are second fiddle communist.
All communism, everyone equal except me, more equal.
Top equal.
Best equal.
So you can guess that.
Here, look at my poo. I can prove it.
It's glorious. This is a lovely one. You know that he would have a fake stool made. He'd have the sample.
He's like composite stool. All the best people.
I want some horse and some gorilla. Put all that together. A little bit of mindful authenticity.
With ancient resilience. Look how old my shit is.
The best looking shit. This must be glorious.
I am leader.
So he said, I want to know about Mao's health when he comes to Moscow.
This is very exciting for me right now.
But Igor says that getting the ore O-R-E, like they keep calling it ore. I don't know why they don't just call it
bowel ore.
Bowel ore. Like I think this might be a Russian-y sort of term for
it's a mining reference.
Your mineral waste. They said
Doctor, I'm having trouble with my mineral waste.
Well, my ore. Anyway, I don't want to call it ore.
Do you remove your ore regularly?
No, I do a poo. That's what I tell myself.
Removes ore. I love that called it. I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, you can call yours ore if you want.
I'm going to from now on.
Now, so Igor says that getting Mao's poo proved a little bit tricky. And here I've got to apologize for a little bit of racism because I can't tell. which bit is Igor being racist against Chinese people, or if this is just what Mao did because Mao was outsmarting him. So Mao and Zhou Enlai and a few of the other Chinese leaders were accommodated by the Russians at a state dacha, special house, a big house, a lovely house.
It's not a mansion because we're all equal. It's a mansion.
It's a mansion. They've still got mansions.
For everybody.
Along the Ospenskoki Highway. Anyway.
Fuck, it's a beautiful highway.
So they installed toilets of a special design that were divided into 2 compartments. Everything collected didn't go into the sewer, but went into little special storage devices.
Of course it did. Collector's containers, if you will.
So they made some little collector's containers. But the problem was, and this is where I don't know if this was Mao outsmarting them or
straight up racism.
Or straight up racism in terms of Igor reporting this. But an incident arose. Asians did not use toilets for their intended purpose.
Oh.
They drank from there.
Come on.
I don't believe it.
Because what's a tap?
Yeah. Look. I mean, just in a recognition that Western and Eastern toilet systems were very different at the time and remain very different.
No.
So,
1949.
1949.
China had taps.
Yeah, it had taps. Look, I don't know about the drinking bit. I don't know about the drinking bit.
Compared to Europe, a lot more aware of gross bodily byproducts and their damage.
No doubt. I don't
know
doubt
it's
that.
not like me to be the white
don't
one
doubt-
who cares about cross-cultural sensitivities.
Look at you.
But what a load of balls. Carry on.
Anyway, so here's where maybe Mao's outsmarting them, and so they're not using it. And in the morning and in the evening, the Chinese went into the courtyard and relieved themselves there. But
To be fair, who doesn't?
I know, but I don't know if that's actually solving the problem, because then the spies could just go and pick
Well,
up.
look, a pile of poo. But
some
did
ore.
they leave a little sign on it saying this was
This
mine?
one's Mao's?
Mao poo.
I don't know, but that doesn't seem to be actually getting rid of the problem. But it may be Mao outsmarting him. But anyway,
Christ, that'd be funny.
So-
Imagine laughing afterwards.
so they're like,
What are you going to do and bog on the lawn?
How do we do this? How do we do this that we can get him to poo in the right place, that we can collect it? So
I got some ideas. No, carry on.
now, Mao would go to the Kremlin, and historians, as Igor says, historians will say this is how Stalin emphasized his dominant position. He'd invite Mao to the Kremlin and then just give him heaps to eat, and then just not meet him.
And a lot of strong coffee.
Yeah, maybe days and days and days. So I think it was for 10 days where Mao didn't get to meet Stalin.
10 days.
And you can totally get, this is a leader going,
Wow.
I'm the dominant party. I'm not going to meet you until I'm ready. That is.
That is a fucking hardcore power play, though. 10 days.
Supposedly, Mao yelled at the walls, assuming that everything is recorded. All I do here is eat and shit. And that's what happened. Because they fed him heaps. There was glorious banquets, and they collected his shit. Then, apparently,
I don't want that job.
they looked at the poo, and the psychological portrait was laid on Stalin's table. The results of research and the conclusions of other scientists coincided with the idea that Stalin himself had about Mao.
Oh, there you go.
And they didn't sign the agreement. So there you go. I don't know.
So Stalin already knew because he's that good.
Oh, I think Stalin just assumed things. Now,
That's what I mean.
here's the thing. When Khrushchev came to power after Stalin, he got rid of a lot of Stalin's wacky ideas and Stalin's killing a lot of people system. And so he got rid of the secret KGB poo laboratory. And the professor who ran this...
It's an easy cut, though, isn't it?
I know.
How many people are going to complain about that?
No one.
I don't want to be controversial, but get rid of pool lab.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
Keep the good stuff. But
Khrushchev, you rock.
But here's the interesting thing. So I don't know the professor who ran this lab, because Atamanenko later said, I'm keeping his name secret for ethical reasons.
Now ethics matter.
Yeah, something like that. But
Just in this moment.
he calls him the professor. The professor who came up with the idea of studying a person in such an unusual way emigrated first to Israel and then to the United States. But his daughter got sick. She got muscle dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy. Yeah, it would be muscular. Anyway,
It is muscular.
and so they needed money for the treatment.
Well, you do.
The professor wrote a book in which he hinted at his research. Before it could be published, however, the FBI got wind of the book and confiscated the entire print run. So you know, it's a secret book that doesn't exist. And I tried to look up what is this book and I don't know.
Didn't you go on the dark web, man?
Maybe. That'd be
Not
awesome.
for that.
Anyway, as a result, the American Special Services forced the scientist to share the technique.
The poo extraction?
Here's where the professor says, the FBI confiscated the circulation of my book in order to classify the upcoming work. Then they paid a fee 3 times higher than was agreed between me and the publisher. I was freely provided with a green card, and just like Werner von Braun brought Nazi rocket technology to NASA, this professor brought Soviet poo science to America. So
we should really have a debate about who delivered more. I mean, who was more useful? I'm going to go with poo guy.
well, can you imagine? Because the CIA now has the KGB poo scientist,
KG poo?
and they want to run with this. They're
And
like,
they
this
want
is-
to put him in Werner Braun's rockets and
So-
shoot the poos at the enemy.
you know, they should have. So there's a bunch of rumors around, about what
amazed
they
to hear
did.
that.
So some of them, it's not clear how many are true or how many are not. One of them was that during 1959, Khrushchev came to Washington, and he stayed at Blair House, which is the traditional place where foreign leaders would stay. And apparently, the plumbing in there is designed specifically to catch the poo of the alternate leader of the visiting leader.
Yeah.
And the professor says, we did it, and I diagnosed his heart attack that Khrushchev was about to have. Now, the heart attack came not long after Khrushchev was deposed, and so
he was under stress.
So he's under stress. Yeah. So he's like, but still, I knew he was going to come because I looked at his ore.
I looked at his dump.
Yeah, and I concluded that he was about to have a heart attack, and that also he had a megalomania, a star fever.
Nope.
You can't conclude that from a
I
poo?
looked at your dump, you're a megalomaniac. I feel like other factors are coming into play here.
Are you saying you can't diagnose megalomania from...
You crap like a megalomaniac? I mean, I think that's less about the substance of the poo, as in the way you extravagantly distribute it around the place.
I don't...
Like, if he was crapping all over Blair House, including in people's food, in the cupboards, blah, 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 then it's like, okay, his poo has led us to assisted the diagnosis of megalomania.
I'm totally with
well,
you.
look, excess lithium must be a megalomaniac. No.
Look, okay, I do get the heart attack. I can get that.
I'm no scatologist, I have theories.
Now, here's another one. Brezhnev, the biggest leader after Khrushchev. I think there was a couple who died in the middle very quickly.
Man, that man could dump.
But Brezhnev. Now, here's another bit of racism that I'm just like, are you serious? So on one of his visits to America, Nixon invited Brezhnev to come and stay out at his ranch in San Clemente. And it was called the Western White House. Now,
like Cowboy White House?
Yeah, no, it's out in California. It's on the Pacific coast. But anyway, apparently, Brezhnev's bodyguards examined the premises. The toilets installed in the Brezhnev half of the ranch caused surprise.
A lot taller?
They caused surprise, first of all, because they were chocolate-coloured, and Nixon had given the romantic name Kiss of the Negro.
What? To the toilet?
Who names their toilet?
At all?
Who names their toilet racistly?
Romantically. No, who names it romantically?
I thought,
this is my Pash Kiss
what the
hug
fuck?
toilet.
What the hell, Nixon, naming your toilet and also you being a racist just there?
No, chocolate kiss. I think we've let beyond racism straight to weird euphemisms for the poo poo.
I don't know.
Oh, look,
But-
if it's one thing I know, it's Nixon.
Beyond the fact that they were chocolate, the bodyguards were like, holy shit, check this out. This is wild in America because it doesn't flush. It sucks into a compressed air department.
Oh, it's like a space shuttle toilet.
Yeah, like a space shuttle toilet. And they're like, this is freaking awesome. And our guards had some fun with the miracle technique. I don't know what that means.
I got a few thoughts.
Did they watch each other poo and then zip it away? But it never occurred to them that it was all for a reason.
No, it wouldn't have because it's insane.
And apparently, Brezhnev, by the way, on that visit, had an upset stomach. So they collected a lot of these samples.
Yeah, and did it reveal he had an upset stomach?
Well, yeah, he used it a lot, but I don't know what it told them about him. But
Well, don't think he shat a lot. We needed this high tech to tell that.
Yeah,
man.
there you go.
Not an American accent.
So the CIA weren't the only people doing this. MI6 in 1987 tried to collect a stool sample from Mikhail Gorbachev.
But he wouldn't hold still.
I don't know. Yeah. Mikhail Gorbachev was wily on this part. Like he stayed in the Soviet embassy when he was in Washington.
Yeah, well,
where you can keep your poo to yourself.
Look, it's a consideration. It's the only way I book hotels now. Are they going to siphon my poo? Are they going to harvest it and talk to the press about my personality?
There was this article. It's called "Flush Twice, McHale," where,
Right.
and so this is a newspaper article from 1987. A Gorbachev stool would be a real prize. The British spy agency.
Oh, we need to dwell on that for a moment.
Would though, wouldn't it?
On eBay.
How long do you keep it? Keep
I'm
it
looking
ziplocked
for-
in the
I'm
freezer.
looking for a collectible.
You know. The British spy agency MI6 tried to get one while the Gorbachevs were on a friendly visit to London some time ago. The wily Gorbachev stayed at a hostelry with toilets that fed into a common collection tank, and his personal contribution couldn't be isolated.
Yeah, it could.
The French may have had better success. Apparently, Brezhnev was staying at a hotel in Copenhagen, and they rented the suite under his, and they dismantled all the plumbing. If you're a hotel cleaner and you're noticing people undoing the plumbing of the one in front,
And a very sad guy in gumboots always standing in the toilet. And god damn. So, are you just doing this to make me happy, or the poo actually became a big deal?
who knows?
'Cause I'm happy. I'm
Who
very
knows
happy
with half
right
of
now.
these people? I like the fact that here's the thing. Not just the poo, but MPAC in general. Was
Yeah.
it any good? And that's an interesting question. So they did actually do regular reviews of both their methodology and
as you would with
specific
poo, you keep it
cases.
regular.
And they think it was actually pretty accurate. Like they were working pretty well, that they could diagnose,
some
foreseeing some health matters, and potentially it can save lives. So although it was pretty obvious that, like, for example, Viktor Yushchenko, when he was poisoned in the Ukraine
Was poisoned.
during the Orange Revolution,
Yeah.
the US helped out a little bit and got him to hospital quickly. Or similarly, like,
Because of his poo samples.
not because of poo samples.
Oh.
Not because of poo samples, but generally the idea of assessing the health of these foreign leaders.
Okay.
I don't know if the poo samples ever helped at all, but the poo samples are the only bit of physical evidence that it's possible to collect from people without really being obvious about it.
It's a diagnosis of megalomania that makes me the happiest. Like, what are you talking about?
So
You're slightly obsessed with cleanliness of the fingernails. We can tell that from your stool.
There you go.
It's not true.
Next time you're in the toilet, just check if you've got a megalomaniac's poo
I do check that.
all the time. Just have a look.
I'm not an idiot. I keep an eye on that. I follow the Kellogg theory.
Gold flakes or something.
Always
like that.
examine your stools
Of course.
and other people's if you need to practice.
In general, they were pretty accurate. But the other thing they found out that in general, what they want to look for is heart attacks are okay. If you're a world leader listening to us right now,
Yeah.
heart attacks are probably not going to make you lose your job.
It's strokes that are the problem.
Strokes are the problem.
Yeah, because they fuck your brain.
They do. Yeah. So that's the big problem. If you're a leader who has had a stroke, then you're not going to be a leader very much longer, which is probably, in fairness,
Unless it's North Korea.
maybe. But holding then,
I'm pretty confident.
that's hard. So there you go. Who knows? Who knows what else they were collecting? But I just love that they reroute the plumbing,
Good
developing
God.
special compartments in toilets to collect the poo.
Because this is one thing we can definitely get. Not a lot of leaders are going to go, well, where is my dump?
I just love that Gorbachev also was trying to avoid it the whole time.
I just don't even. I don't even.
There you go. Right in the essence of Wholesome Show. Trousers? What did you guess?
Trousers, very bad people.
Yeah.
And Russia, as you
Trousers,
reminded
trousers, very bad people in Russia, and also science. So
me. And humour.
and humor.
Because there's nothing not funny. The moment you say poo, everything's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want the job anymore. It started off well, but now I don't want to be...
You don't want to collect poo? Oh, there was one other story where
don't
apparently
analyse it either.
the US spies in Berlin would go into the sewers underneath the German embassy, and there'd be like toilet paper shortages, and like the Russians, like the military people, would just be using secret things to wipe their ass, flushing it down there, and apparently they would collect all these things. I don't know.
What a shit job.
I don't know, listener. There you go. The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant, him, Rod Lamberts, brought to you by the Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And personalities from toilets.